Hi everyone, I'm back with a new video on a web framework based on Django called Django Ninja. Django Ninja is a web framework for building APIs using Django and Python 3.6 and above with type hints. Key features of Django Ninja are it is easy to use and intuitive, fast execution, thanks to Pydantic and async support. Fast to code, type hints, and automatic docs lets you focus only on business logic. Standards based, it supports OpenAPI, also known as Swagger and JSON Schema. Django friendly, since it has good integration with Django core and ORM. Production ready, battle tested by many companies including Google, Microsoft, Amazon, IBM, Apple, etc. So what is Pydantic? Pydantic is a widely used data validation library for Python. We can define a schema which has a few sets of parameters of different types, say int, float. It supports JSON schema, strict and lax mode, where when strict is equal to true, it does not convert data, while lax is equal to true, it tries to convert data to the correct type when appropriate. Can be customized however the developer wants. Great ecosystem, battle tested by Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, IBM, Apple, and a lot more. Applications used are VS Code 1.81. Database is SQLite. So I'm using a front end written in Vue.js called Antares for viewing and editing DB. Django 4.2 LTS version, Django Ninja 0.22, Python 3.11.4, 64-bit in an isolated environment on Windows 10. I will be adding the links in the description. For the schema, it uses JSON. By referring the model's code, we can define a separate input and response schema with all the parameters or fields or select fields. Once a proper schema is specified, it will ensure only valid data types declared for the fields are accepted and invalid input will result in an error. If you're coming from Flask marshalling, you'll find it is easier to write and define custom schema, and the code is easier to read and debug as well. Now for the app structure, I've created the project called API demo using a Django admin command and created a app called test app because Django Ninja is focused on business logic rather than following a specific structure. You can take freedom to write the code and specify your own rules or paths to be used. I went ahead with Django like structure and moved by API logic from urls.py to views.py and define the input and response schema within the same file, that is views.py. Additionally, I've added versioning to the APIs and separated it by v1 and v2 with the path API / version number /. Just like Django REST framework DRF, you will see automatically generated documentation for your code with OpenAPI 3 and Redoc. Code documentation can be found in the default path API/docs. In my case, the docs would be residing under API/v1/docs and API/v2/docs. For the tutorial, I'm using the same CRUD tutorial mentioned in Django Ninja documentation with employee and data department tables in models.py. Models.py will have the table structure as follows. URLs will have the logic for API v1 and v2. Views will have our business logic along with the HTTP methods which it supports. I've added v1 for synchronous APIs and v2 for asynchronous APIs. Response structure for all the APIs will be a JSON structure. If you are mixing synchronous and asynchronous APIs, it is recommended to use sync to async function operations, otherwise you will get an error. For async API only, use async as a prefix before a function along with await keyword before returning any ORM results or if you're adding any delays. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the API docs URL which shows all APIs along with their schemas for employee and department. Let's try one of the get API which returns list of employees along with their departments. Now let's try the async version of get API for department as well. As you can see, I've aliased API underscore v1 and API underscore v2 as v1 and v2 to specify their respective versioned endpoints in URL patterns in url.py. You can get a complete JSON output when you click on OpenAPI.json hyperlink, which is present on the top of the Swagger documentation to get the entire schema along with the API what is being generated by Swagger. Now let's try out all the CRUD operations one after the other. We will try giving invalid inputs to add API and see what results can we expect. Yes, you will see validation errors now. Next, we'll try post API for employee by filling in valid details, and the result will be new ID for the entry is returned. Now we'll go to the logic and see why it returned the employee ID value. As you can see, we have defined in the logic that it will return a new ID upon successful API response. Now we'll cross check if the entry is added through Antares, and as you can see, there's a new ID 8. Next, we will try updating the existing entry with updated info using put request. We will pass 8 as employee ID and edit the info. You are seeing error 422 since birth date is invalid. Upon success, you will see success is equal to true response. We will cross check if the entry is updated through Antares, and yes, the API has updated the info. Finally, we'll try the delete operation with ID 8, and it will return success equal to true upon successful deletion. We can see the entries indeed deleted from the table. Yeah, we can wind up this short tutorial on Django Ninja and basic CRUD operations. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more programming videos. Feel free to suggest any improvements or any topics you want to be covered in the comments. Thank you.